Hi, this is Zia Inspirations. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Thank you all for all the love and support to all my subscribers. Thank you so much. For anyone new to my channel, welcome. I always want this to be a welcoming place where you feel safe if you ever feel guided or needed to share. I do have my information in the description box if you ever feel like the need to reach out and talk to somebody that can hopefully, relate with different situations. So I know when I was first looking for information, that was my main thing, trying to find people that can actually understand, what I was going through. So anything I share on here is things that I have done or learned that have helped me and my family in dealing with this topic. And so, I never want to come off and think, for anyone to think like I'm some kind of expert. I'm just going off of my own experiences in hopes that it helps somebody else. But yeah, just it's been amazing so far. So thank you again all for the love and support. So I'm going to be doing a different format with these next couple of videos that I will be uploading. I hope you guys enjoy them. I appreciate any feedback. So just go ahead and dive in on the topic. So at the very beginning, when I started this channel, I tapped into like the most important thing that you can do when you have no or care about someone that has addiction. I also talk about addiction's favorite tool it likes to use on people that do care, love the person that's battling the disease, and then also what the loved ones tools that they can use to help protect themselves when dealing with certain situations. With this topic tonight, it's going to be the most hardest thing you can ever do when dealing with someone that you either know, love, or care about that has addiction, and that is forgiveness. That is going to be the most hardest thing, at least it was in my situation, and it still is today. I'm still learning every day different things, and it's been amazing. I've been happy with the progress my family and I have made these past couple of years. But we're still learning every day. And one thing that I am still learning, to this day from since this became my reality, having a loved one with addiction, to recent, is dealing with forgiveness. And it's something that is always going to be there. I'm always going to have to work on it. And I think that's going to be for anyone that can come out and say that they have mastered forgiveness. I would say that would be a really, really hard task. I mean, if that's the case, then I commend them because it is extremely, extremely hard. When you hear about forgiveness, usually there's a lot of resistance, and usually for good reason. Dealing with this topic, dealing with this illness, dealing with these different situations, puts you in situations that, in my own scenario, I wouldn't wish on anybody. I wouldn't wish that pain and those experiences that I've had to and my family's had to experience on anybody. And so when you have to look back and you think about them, and it's like you hear the saying, hate the disease, not the addict. And that alone is super hard. But to forgive somebody for any wrongdoings that we have felt have been done upon ourselves, that is extremely, extremely hard. But the reason why it's extremely important is because it's a huge, huge step in this process for the loved ones that are dealing with it. When I talk to people, and even for myself, like, it was really hard because it's almost like you're like, well, when you forgive them, like you're kind of getting them off the hook. And that's not the case at all. You're forgiving the person. You're not excusing the behavior. You're forgiving. You're forgiving the behavior, but it prevents it from like destroying like your own heart. Because when you are holding on to those pains, to those experiences, to those things that a lot of times it's really hard for people to talk about depending on different situations. And if you're not able to forgive someone for that, then you're holding on to that pain. You're holding on to that experience for as long as you're going to carry that with you. And for however long that you want to carry that burden, that's what it becomes. It becomes a huge, huge burden on you. So you're doing yourself a huge injustice if you're not willing to try and forgive the person for the wrongdoings. Right now, I'm reminding myself of a video I saw. I think it's less than a year ago, I want to say, from the time that I'm recording this video. And it was Will Smith. And I believe it was on his own Facebook page that he had did this real quick video. And he made some like really good points. I think it was really dealing with like it wasn't like the topic wasn't really dealing like with forgiveness, but it was like dealing with fault versus responsibility. And so it's not someone's fault if another person or individuals did something, wrong to them. So for example, like he gave, I believe, was like, if someone was hurt or done wrong by somebody, it's not their fault for, the victim that was actually the one that, was hurt. But it's it's the victim's responsibility to then work with that experience. So like whether they are saying, okay, how can I heal from this? So then I can then move on and not let this dictate and hold on to me for the future. So I'm actually going to try and find that video. I will post a link in the description. I strongly suggest because, it's basically he had a conversation with someone that I think a lot of us either have said before or have had heard others say, or, when dealing with trying to forgive your loved ones, is like, they did this and they did this and they did this and they did that to me. And it's like, that's not your fault. It's not okay that they did that, but you still have to heal from those pains and so that you can move on. And a big part of that is forgiving that person. The hardest thing I think I've ever had to do was forgive someone and accept an apology that I was never going to receive. And just being like, you know what? They did this wrong and I deserve an apology. I deserve for them to try and make that wrong right. But it was never going to happen. And so was I just going to sit around and just wait until they came and apologized, and in the meantime, like just hold on to that pain? And that was the hardest thing, was for me to actually forgive someone and accept an apology that I was never going to receive. But the benefit of it after was entirely worth it. And I think you don't really realize like how strong you are when you're going through these different situations. And if you're able to overcome the experiences, and that takes a strong person to forgive someone else of them doing this wrong. And let's just be real for a minute. For dealing with these topics that I'm talking about on this channel, those things that are done to the loved one should not be considered underlined at all. Like, I don't want to have to, I don't want it to feel like I am downplaying or, not respecting someone's pain. Because this experience, like these situations, it's ugly. It is. And everyone is justifiable to be hurt, to be angry, but to hold on to those energies, to hold on to those emotions, to hold on to those feelings, then we are really doing ourselves an injustice, because it's not helping anyone else. Because then you start doing the blame, you start doing the anger, and you hold on to that resentment, and it just becomes toxic. And just from my own experience, like, as soon as you're able to then forgive the persons for their wrongs, even if you never got an apology, the peace that you receive afterwards, like, it's 100% worth it. Now, that is the hardest thing. But even with that, the most hardest thing, and on top of that, because it's, like I said, it's super hard to forgive somebody for anything. I think nowadays more. But what's even more harder than that is to forgive ourselves. And I know I'm going to feel like there probably already is, people that are having a little bit of like drawback in that, be like, what do you mean I have to forgive myself? I'm not the one that lied. I'm not the one that cheated. I'm not the one that stole. I'm not the one that did, make the laundry list. Write down all the things of like all the things that, this other person or other people have done in our lives. But at the same time, it's like we have to be honest with ourselves. Like, I did the video where it's like, practice what you preach. We can't expect our loved ones to get better and do certain things if we're not willing to do it ourselves. And by saying that we have no faults is saying that we're not human. At the end of the day, we are all human, and we are capable of making mistakes every day. And we have to then come to realizations that we have faults of our own. And we have to forgive ourselves for those faults. And that is extremely, extremely hard. That was the hardest thing I have ever had to do. And to be honest, it made forgiving the other individual a lot easier when I was able to own up to my part in, different situations and other things of how I handled things, or, like just my perspective on myself, because we can be our hardest critics of anyone else. Like, we can be our hardest critics to ourselves than anyone else on this planet. Like, we can be like, oh, I need to be better at this. I need to be better at that. Or I should have done this. I should have done that. The shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And able just to look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? It's okay. And just forgiving yourself for the fact that that's part of life, just learning from our experiences, learning from our mistakes. Another quote, it's like, don't judge yourself by your past. You don't live there anymore. I talked about things like help me to stay positive and have like a higher perspective, like that, keeping that, positive energy. And, it's like if you're living in the past versus living in the future and living in the present moment, whether that is minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. And it's like you don't forgive for the other person, you forgive to set yourself free. And that is the feeling that you feel after you're able to go through that process. So, yeah, like I said, it's the hardest thing I think I've ever had to do, was to forgive my loved one, forgive myself. But yeah, the feelings and the benefits of it after, I cannot express how much and how important it is. And it's so 100%, it's so worth it. So I'm going to end it there, you guys. But, thank you again for all the love and support. Remember that you guys are so strong. Take it day by day, and remember that you are doing your best. This is the inspiration saying goodbye for now. And again, if you need to reach out to me, my information is below. And I'm sending so much love. Take care.